Out of all the cases of strange bands to get over in the past 10 years, Steel Panther definitely has to be within that conversation. This is a group that you would never have expected to actually get a large and dedicated fan base. Considering they are full of chauvinistic messages within their lyricism, they're kind of a joke band that uses the attitude of hair metal almost against itself. But this larger-than-life attitude has actually gained them a following, males and females both. This is not meant to be taken all of that seriously, and as a result, each passing album has seen more and more interested in hearing where Steel Panther was going to go next. Were they going to go after Tiger Woods? Well, they certainly did that. Are they going to make mention to Angry Birds and other cultural icons? They've done that too. But because of this, and because of some of these attitudes, and the PC world that we currently reside in 2019, they have attracted more than just fans. They've also attracted a lot of hate and controversy along the way. So let's explore that side of the coin. Let's discover 5 reasons why some people hate Steel Panther. And of course, we're going to start with number 5. Number 5 is because they feel that hair metal is outdated. Now, this argument by itself isn't all of that bad, considering they do kind of have a point. Back whenever Steel Panther was first finding its roots in the latter portion of the aughts, hair metal had already been seen by many as dead for roughly 20 years. Hair metal's heyday was during the latter part of the 1980s, and the first part of the 1990s was whenever everything was fizzling out and was being replaced by grunge and alternative music. So for 20 years there were hair metal bands that were either inactive or just periodically touring and releasing new albums that didn't get necessarily the same fanfare as they used to. And then here comes Steel Panther, who decided that hair metal is exactly how they were going to go about things. And that's exactly what they did. Now there are some that simply dislike hair metal, period, and that's essentially what number 5 is saying. Some just listen to the sound and absolutely loathe it because they never liked anything from hair metal to begin with, so they don't even take the time. It's kind of a stupid reason, but it's one that we unfortunately encounter from time to time. And here it is again. Number 4, because they are a joke band. Now, Steel Panther might not say that they're a joke band, and their fans might not say that they're a joke band, but come on, really. This is a group that is maybe not a joke band per se, where they're going up there and telling wisecracks. This isn't Tenacious D, after all. This is a band that takes themselves extremely seriously, but they're a band that's playing a role. They're playing characters, and they are larger in life and, you extreme to the extreme based around that. And as a result, this is an idea that sometimes takes the piss out of some people. First, you have those who enjoyed hair metal and find this to be a mockery of it, which, yeah, it actually kind of is. Then they see the larger-in-life attitudes and notice, oh boy, that's a parody of what a lot of those guys were doing back in the 1980s. Yikes, this is a different age. We don't need that. No, 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 no. And the hate usually comes whenever they see the way in which they carry themselves and hear the lyrics that are surrounding them. Basically, all Steel Panther does was remove the innuendo, and instead was very direct about the messages that were oftentimes heard in songs in the 1980s. And then took it one more step to the extreme by making that extremely sexually perverse, as well as tossing in a couple pop culture references, just to date it in case you wanted that in your music. Some folks don't want this in their music. They don't want jokes, especially ones where they feel, aren't actually jokes. They don't think this is a joke band, they think this is just terrible. And as a result, they shun Steel Panther's music, finding it to have absolutely no value. Number 3, because the band is chauvinistic. And once again, we just talked about how the roles are being played, but the role is one that feels extremely chauvinistic. This is one that really takes things far and beyond what you would be typically hearing. I mean, there are a lot of bands out there that could be seen as chauvinistic or macho, either that or seem to be very demeaning toward women, especially in heavy metal's grindcore department, especially in pornogrind, or you could even cite a group such as Crotch Duster, considering they make mention to positions that would be potentially very uncomfortable and things that could be seen as a crime. Now, the same thing could be said about Steel Panther, only they're singing about it very whimsically in the hair metal format and even in balladeer format, where it seems like these are very serious issues and serious topics, and they got to get what they want. That chauvinistic attitude is something that turns off a number of people, and you can definitely tell that there's probably an age range here as to who it would turn off, either that or a certain personality type in which it would turn off. But sometimes this can be taken a little bit too far. I can actually understand this one a little bit more, considering the immaturity dial is sometimes cranked up to 15, and it feels just downright high school level juvenility, either that or even junior high school level juvenility, where it just doesn't feel like it's all that fun, like they're doing it just to basically tick people off. Maybe that is the point. Maybe we're all completely over-examining and overthinking this, but either way, that chauvinistic tendency does tend to abandon some fans and does cause others to just flat out hate the product, period. Number 2, the guitar pedal controversy, the pussy melter. God, it's a name that's almost, perfect, considering it itself is a harsh critique on the feelings at one point for a guitar player. It was always stated and always joked about that if you knew how to play a guitar, you would get endless supplies of sex and endless supplies of pussy. That this was something that was very important, and you would be able to be rewarded with all of the sex you could possibly want just because you could play this guitar. Plus, the pussy melter 100% also fit into their character base. Of course, Steel Panther, these chauvinistic, juvenile, joke band, hair metal folks, would release a pedal entitled the Pussy Melter. I mean, it just fits right into the scene, and you could just write it, and they did. And it got a big-time controversy based around it. This was something that immediately, whenever it hit the media marketplace, whenever it hit the newswire that this was going to be available for sale, there were folks that were peeved about this almost instantaneously. They couldn't believe that a big-time pedal manufacturer, an actual legitimate business, would actually manufacture a pedal with such a name, with such a title, with such a derogatory message right there. I mean, what's that going to tell the children? Now, this was something that caused the product to be pulled, but then Steel Panther just decided, screw it, we'll sell it ourselves. And now they have a second one coming up, and I'll let you guess what that name is. I'll tell you. It's pretty fun too. And number 1, because these people are offended by pretty much everything. Now, a lot of the things that we've mentioned, those are some decent things that you can be offended by. If you see chauvinistic behavior, it is pretty ugly whenever you witness it. Whenever you see something that's absolutely outrageous or doesn't seem to have a filter, that can sometimes be really off-putting. However, some of these people just have no senses of humor whatsoever, and they get offended by just about anything that happens and just want to stir up shit. A lot of these folks may not actually be offended. They just think to themselves, man, this would be a really, really great blog post. But then there are those out there that legitimately have all of these different reservations toward any sort of content of this variety. And while it can be somewhat understandable, considering, as we mentioned, it is somewhat juvenile, it is somewhat chauvinistic, but it's probably just a joke. This is no longer the age or the era where those sorts of jokes are seen as respectable or as seen as tolerable. So there are many folks out there that whenever they examine some of these things and see some of these things, that's the exact thing that happens. Both of their eyeballs just cringe out of their skull, and they think to themselves, how in the world is this able to get over? How is this something that's able to be sold in stores? How does this band still have the option of eating as a band? So they take to all of these different outlets and they campaign against this sort of indecency and filth. They don't like what these messages are really saying. They even sometimes concoct these far-fetched ideas that there's going to be problems within the next generation if this is allowed to suffice within this generation. It seems a little bit silly. It seems almost like they're trying to control the media. A lot of the times it seems like they can't just, take a hint. None of these members have ever been caught up in any controversy. It's never done anything past being words on a record. But still, just like the PMRC in the 1980s, these are folks that want to protect the ears of tomorrow by shunning the ideas of today. And as a result, Steel Panther, if they ever hear them, they can become public enemy number 1. That's the list. Anything that we left out, let me know in the comments below. My name is coverkillernation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys next time.